amazing feat. So, I'm just going to turn it over because we all
Okay.
know you and love you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Prue, very much for your introduction. I must say, I'm very impressed that so many of you came out of a beautiful day to be indoors and to hear what I have to say. The idea about going back to Henley this year, in 2016, first came up 2 years ago, when Bobby and I were again also at Henley. And I ran into a friend of mine that I've known for 40 years or so, who happens to be a steward of the regatta, which means he's one of the officials who runs the place. And he said to me, Francis, you're coming back in 2016. And I said, Angus, I hadn't really thought of it. I said, why? He said, to celebrate your victory in the White Falls in 1946, 70 years before. And so my mind started turning on that. And but I didn't quite know how celebrations occurred at Henley. But then I saw in the daily regatta program a notice about celebrations and so on. And when tea time or lunchtime on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they would listed some crews that were coming back to celebrate an victory. And at that point I began to think, maybe this is going to be real. But I thought that I was the only survivor of my four-man crew. And because I tried to reach the last, what I thought was the last survivor, but I wasn't able to. And so I decided, well then, probably what I'll have to do is to scull in a single scull over the course, because that's what I've been doing in the Head of the Charles for many, many years, until 2008, which was my last Head of the Charles. And so I began to think about that, and getting very excited about it. But then in the fall of 2014, I hurt my shoulder again. I had rotator cuffs on both sides. But this time I really wrecked it. I'm not able to raise my arm, my left arm, however this. And so I thought, well, that's going to be a problem. Although I still try to imagine that maybe I could do it. But then I sort of ruptured my right quadriceps in January of 2015. And, but that healed in time. But then I decided I better try myself out, so I went back to Cambridge Boat Club and tried it a single scull, and found that I really couldn't do it. I then went out in a double scull with a friend, and I found that I could barely do it, but not really. And so at that point I was terribly disappointed. And I went back to my sports guru, my sports medicine man, and he said, well, he said, you know, if you can't put one hand on each one of two oars, maybe you can put two hands on one oar. And that seemed to make sense to me. And so then I heard over the summer, last summer, that the Harvard Mule Boathouse had a tank. In fact, they had two tanks with an 8 in each of them. And so I got in touch with the head coach. I told him my rowing history, my hope for 2016 and so on, and my connection with Harvard Medical School over 60 plus years. And so he invited me to come, and to my great, great satisfaction and pleasure, I discovered that in fact I could do it. And at that point I began to think, you know, maybe this is going to be real. But then, so half the battle was won, in that I thought I could do it. But the other issue was, were we going to be invited by Henley Royal Regatta? I had initially thought that it was really a sort of automatic thing. All you had to do is having won, and you can't put a crew together to celebrate, and therefore it was kind of a shoe-in. Well, I discovered that that was not the case. At the dinner organized by the Leander Club at the Union Club of Boston on the Saturday of the Head of the Charles, which is the third weekend of October, I met Sir Steve Redgrave, who is the chairman of the regatta at the moment, and has been, well, yes, I don't think he's been there as chairman very long, but he is considered to be probably the greatest oarsman of all time, because he won in gold in 5 consecutive Olympics. That means 16 years, from 1984 to 2000. And that's really quite an achievement. And so I was there at the dinner, and I must have said something that suggested to him that I thought it was a kind of easy thing to achieve. And he, in a very nice way, got across to me that that was his decision to make. And that, but anyway, that's what happened. So then it was going to be the question whether or not they would approve. Now, even before we went ahead in 2014, I had received a fundraising letter from the Michael Gleason, who was then and has been for the last 22 years the president of the King's College London Boat Club, which is a club that I worked for in 1946. And I sort of sent him a small contribution, but I also, he was obviously interested in history, and so I really filled him with history about 1946 and what the club was like at that time, and so and the college. And he was very interested, and we became friends, actually. When we discussed the question of a celebration, he was even more interested and excited. And in fact, I met him at Henley that year, in 2014, because every year he gives a wonderful picnic in the parking lot of the regatta on a Sunday, the finals day. And so I met him there. And he also had introduced me to another famous oarsman, Sir Matthew Pinson, who was actually in a number of crews with Redgrave, and he only won four gold in 4 Czechoslovakians. But anyway, he became a friend, and he took us out, my wife and I, Bobby and I, on a launch, an umpire's launch, and we followed one of the races in Salt, which was the first time in many years that I had done it. And so there we were, and Matthew became very interested in seeing to it that I was able to row in a regatta. He was interested in history, and I think one of the reasons he was interested is that no 92-year-old had ever rowed a regatta before, and I think he thought it might be fun to have somebody in 92 doing it. And so time went on, and finally Michael Gleason of King's College London wrote a formal letter to Steve Redgrave through the various forms and so on and so forth, applying for the celebration. And eventually in February, I mean, we were really on tenterhooks, wondering whether it was going to happen or not. There were rumors that he was worried about a 92-year-old doing it, because apparently a few years before, somebody quite a bit younger than I am had actually had health problems at the time of the row, and they didn't want a repetition of that with the accompanying embarrassment. But eventually, Michael Redgrave did write a letter, a very nice letter to Michael Gleason, saying that the stewards of the regatta were very pleased to approve such a crew, and that in order to make Francis able to row in the regatta. And so that's then we prepared. And so now I should add, however, since I haven't rowed in the Nate on the Real River for 69 years, I wasn't quite sure after my port guru told me I could do it and discovered that I could. I actually continued to train, and I was usually at the old boathouse every other week or so throughout the winter and early spring, and so on. And eventually, after we were approved, I continued to train. And then the great day came on Saturday, July 2nd, which was the day of our row at the luncheon interval. I might say that although I was very pleased, the regatta was making such a huge deal out of it, actually, that at times I got very nervous I would wake up with a cold sweat in the morning asking myself, am I really going to be able to do it? Because as I said before, I had not rowed in a naval on a real river, a real boat on a real river for 69 years. And there were three things that concerned me. One, on a tank, a boat is very stable, it doesn't move, the oars don't move in the water. But on a real river, especially if there is wind, as there undoubtedly, the boat can be rather shaky. That was one thing I was worried about. The other one was that I had rowed with a different kind of oar. I had rowed with the old oar that looks like this one here, which they call a pencil. Now, in one country it's called a cleaver, in the other one country it's called a hatchet, and much bigger blade. And I didn't quite, although I tried it once on the tank, I wasn't sure how it would all work out in reality. And the third thing I was concerned about is I had never rowed in a crew where I was not the stroke, and therefore I never had to follow anybody. I wasn't quite sure how that would work out. And in any event, the day what I did, my three children came, Mike, Peabody, and Tammy came with a son of theirs, a grandson of mine came, Bobby, of course, was there, and I had some English cousins who came. Also, actually, Russ and Prue Robertson were there in the early part of the week, and then Donna and Jeffrey Garner also came for the last 2 days. And so we had quite a group, and I rented a house, a manor house about 6 miles away from Henley. It was a wonderful, very charming house, built in 1501, and set 16 people, and on one occasion it was 16 people who stayed there. Other times it was sometimes a few, not so many. And so now what I want to show you is some clips, some films of the thing, and there we are. There's no sound in this part. These still photographs.
Are you one of those, Francis?
Pardon?
Are you one of the rowers?
Yes, I'm the, let me see. You can't see it, I'm there. I think maybe you'll see better here. There, that's me. And that's the fire, that's winning. Now, this is a little tricky, but because I want to put some three other photographs of 1946. Okay, I can take that off. That's the crew immediately after we won, and that's me in case you don't recognize me. And those are our coaches. And then this is the prize giving ceremony. 46 was the first Royal Henley after the war. The war having ended in 45. And there were no Royal Henleys during the war. But in 1946, Princess Elizabeth and Princess Margaret came to give the prizes. And maybe you recognize her there in her youth. And there's Margaret, and there's Elizabeth. And Johnny Johnson, the captain of the crew, had received the cup itself. And there the princess is handing me the base